I'm not going to come back with another watch. Let me go do a chair.
Exactly.
And then I'm going to go do some drinks.
Yeah. And then there we go. Some drinks.
He beats us to it.
You are, in addition to, what your practice and what you do, you're still dabbling in the product field.
Yeah, of course.
Mass,
not just dabbling.
Market product. You're in
never stop. Yeah.
And so you're entering in the spirits world.
Yeah.
With some pretty interesting people.
Yes. Yeah. So in February after the Super Bowl, we launched Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate, I'm blessed. Might be a dream.
Yeah.
Because, I grew up in LA in the 90s. And, it was definitely a dream. Someday I'm going to work with Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
And then, when we all started.
Most people hear that, they think, I'm going to be spitting some raps.
Yeah, exactly.
Beats.
Man, we were making beats. And, I remember when we would make beats and, somebody would come in the studio with the CD, yo, I got Dre's drums. Yeah. And we really believed that they had it. It was it's a dream. And again, it's perfect confluence of events. A mentor, Mark Byers, shout out to him. He set it up and he made the introduction. And I think one of the things that I pride myself in is that people like him that take care of me and open doors for me and give me a protective shield, that what I can do is to make sure that I follow through with the highest level of delivery.
Right.
I deliver the product, right? Yeah. I have to make sure that it's that level, it's that good. So when he brought this opportunity, it was set up to be great. Cause it was I didn't have to think. I didn't have to think about it. I'd never designed packaging or a can before. Never done anything in this space. But the DNA, I joke with Dre and with, with his communications, Lori, I told her name's Lori Earl, and she was telling me stories about what it was like back then. She's I think she's Armenian from Glendale. She's representing Death Row and Dre and Snoop.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, so you put together the source cover? She's like, are you kidding me? She's telling me stories about Snoop in the van and this and that. I'm like, wait, so your communication shaped how I see things. Yeah. Right? Wow. What you guys were doing back then.
Yeah.
It shaped how I see things. Dre's approach and Dre, the mystique of Dre. Mm-hmm. That's the same archetype as the Jordan, as all these people that we talked about. I feel connected to that.
Right.
Where it's it shouldn't go out if it's not perfect. It's gonna be perfect, right? Yes. It's gonna communicate clearly.
Yes.
You're gonna be able to flip it over, turn it inside out. It's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be all those things. And if we only make a certain number of them, then it's fine. Mm-hmm. And you don't need to do everything, but you need to do everything right.
Yes.
Right? And it needs to bang. Yeah. That's Dre. That's what we grew up with. It's we got the chronic. You're front to back. Can't stop. I graduate from high school. We got 2001. I'm what is going on? This is you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's how it can't be anything less than that. So, so the concept for this thing, it was well, gin and juice, that's it. What I'm making is an announcement that it's finally here.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why it's just bold title, Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop. And the typeface, I worked with Hassan Rahim, and he was we got to think about hype posters, when you used to pull off the freeway and you had the poster just DJ such and such, right? Mm-hmm. So it was bam, bold, and then the car illustrated by Wayne Johnson, who's an old friend of mine, and I just kind of was able to pull it together, and I thought if I'm gonna design this to be a representative of what this culture means to me, this culture that I grew up in, that shaped me, that shaped how so many people see things around the world at this day and age, that it survived this long, it's been so influential, it can be looked at as nothing less than how we look at something that's luxury.
Right.
right? It has a spiritual and geographic home. It has an essence that makes you feel something, and it transports you when you think about it.
It does.
It's lasted the test of time. And just like Hermes started with what it started with and then spread into everything else, we're seeing the same thing happening here.
Yeah.
Right? So in that sense, I was like, well, how do we make that announcement to the world with the very first product? Because there's going to be more. We put it the same way that you would find it if it was in a gallery or a museum 100 years from now.
Yeah.
So I was like, white space, drop the car in there, put the announcement, Ginny Juice is here.
Yeah.
And it was obvious.
Yeah.
It came really quickly, and it was like, man, that's all it needs to be.
Yeah.
Just like Dr. Dre, you look at the Chronic 2001, what do you got? Green border, 2001 Leaf.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Straight to the point.
You know,
Like, it didn't even need to say Chronic. You're like, the Chronic.
exactly.
And it was just obvious. I didn't have to second guess it. You know, Dre jokes, you're just like, man, you just like the one-hitter quitter. He's like, you just knock him out. It's like you show up with one idea, knock him out the park. I'm like, man, it's just, when it's right and it's direct, there's not a lot of room for confusion, which is what I was saying about being essential.